Welcome, Sigma, to the 0.01%.
All right, guys. So in this video, we're going to go over the Sigma Renko Suite bot, which is the backtestable version of the algorithm. And then you can also send webhook alerts utilizing Pine Connector to your MT5 to automate from TradingView to MT5. So in this video, we're just going to go over how to adjust the settings, understanding the settings, going over a few things that you should pay attention to. And then in the next video, we're going to go over the Pine Connector setup, in which you can use Pine Connector, get the VPS and all that stuff to automate your trades directly from TradingView to your MT5 account. So first things first, right? You get the indicator, you go into indicators, and then just in your invite only scripts, right? Lowercase agree. Right, and now let's just go over this. This all right here is going to pertain to your Pine Connector. So I will go over it right now, but I'm going to go over it again in the next video. So Discord signals, that's strictly for me. That's so I can send signals from the algo straight to Discord. So this is a whole thing that I have to deal with. Pine Connector ID, again, next video you'll understand. Because Pine Connector gives you like a license key to put in there. So when you send the alert, it will read. Adjust broker symbol. So what you're gonna have to understand is, for example, we see that NAS 100 on my TradingView or currency.com is US 100. So when it sends an alert to the Pine Connector has to be able to read that alert to execute the trade, right? To find it in your watch list and be like, okay, I found NAS, let's do it. So on my broker, for example, HeroFX, NAS 100 is NAS 100.R. So if it sends an alert from TradingView and it sends it as US 100, it's not going to execute the trade. So I have to click adjust broker symbol, NAS 100.R, because my broker lists NASDAQ 100 like this. If you're using a different broker outside of outside of HeroFX, you have to put in here what your broker recognizes that indice or that pair as. For example, even with like Euro USD, not all brokers have simple Euro USD symbols. Like Renko trade, I know it says Euro USD.HTK, you know what I'm saying, whatever it is. So you'll have to type in Euro USD dot, you know, whatever the Renko trade thing is listed as. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We'll go over that in depth in the next video. Disable trade, simple. You don't want to trade Monday, click on that, won't trade Monday. Hours to close on Friday, GMT time. So you just make sure that it will automatically close out trades based on this time you just selected here. Back test date. So if you're a scalper, for example, you don't have to go, I don't believe you have to go far, you know, more than like 2-3 months. It's December 1st. So, you know, September, October is kind of where I will start my back testing to see how it performs in the previous months. You don't have to start at January because there's a lot that happens between January and now in terms of a scalping situation. Now, if you're trading something more on like I'll say the 30-minute and above, that's when you probably want to start at a year to see how it performs over the course of that year. But when you're a scalper and you're getting as many trades that, you know, lower time frames give you, you definitely just want to kind of start, you know, 2 months max to see how it performs within that time frame. And then finish date, this is already preset to December 3000, so you don't even have to touch that. Asset decimal digits on broker use, this is something we'll go over in the next video when we talk about Pine Connector, because also each broker has different contract sizes for their symbols. Like, you know, Hugo's Way's contract size is like 1 to 100, and then HeroFX is 1 to 10, and it uses different decimal places. So we'll go over that in the next video. All right, so what everything here, this is the same as the algo. Okay, the only thing that changed right here is position size, because this is going to enable partials. So how it works with the Pine Connector part of it is it opens up. So say I have TP1 and TP2 checked, it will open up 3 trades. Each trade going to its own take profit, but it's overall one trade idea. So if my take profit is 25 points and 50 points is TP2, 100 points is TP3, right? And I am risking a standard lot size, right? So position 1 for take profit 1, 50% of that overall position, meaning that standard, turns into a 0.50, and it will close out at TP1, and then TP2 will be 20%, so that would be like, well, 0.20, right? That will close out at TP2, and then a 0.10 will close out at TP3. Obviously, I'm giving you even numbers so you guys understand it a little bit more. Then this is the trailing stop. TS is trailing stop for the remainder of the position that will keep running until it gets stopped out. So, you know, if you're using percent, because on the Pine Connector, you'll be able to do that by percentage. If you're using percent, then obviously 2% of your overall account, whatever that lot size is, this is how it's going to be split up. So that way you can make the most out of your trades. A little math has to be done. So you know that if you want to trade NASDAQ and you're playing with these type of numbers, you have to make sure you have enough money in your account in order for it to make sense. Because if you're trading with 0.01s, right, this is not going to make sense for you. And I don't think that if you're trading NASDAQ and you're in a position where you have to trade 0.01s, you should even have multiple take profits. You should be trading 1-to-1s, maybe 1-to-2s. But for example, if you're 1-to-2, if I'm risking 50 points and I just wanted to close out at 100 points, I would just disable these take profits and then make this, you know, because I'm using a multiplier, the pips and points is 50. I'll just type this too, so that way it's just one position open, and then it will actually keep going until it hits that full take profit, and then you're utilizing that trailing stop to follow behind your actual trade, right? So that's how I will structure that if that was the case. If you're trying to do this with a small account, which is something I don't recommend if you're trying to trade NASDAQ. I think if you're trying to trade NASDAQ, especially with our systems, you need a minimum of $1,000, preferably anything more than that in order for this to even make sense for you. Meaning that if anything less than that, let's stick to Forex pairs, maybe a little bit of gold. But indices, I think that you need a minimum of 1,000, but to be able to do it comfortably, at least 5. At least on the broker that we use. So again, these are all the same settings. So when you're starting to look for back testing results, again, trade the time in which that pair, that symbol moves. NASDAQ, New York session. So I'm gonna scroll all the way down and then make sure that my New York session settings is on. So it's only trading during New York. You can see that it's not taking trades during Asian or London, right? So I'm gonna set it up properly, 5 o'clock here, and then I'm gonna see what it looks like. Let me just take this up a little bit so you guys can see. All right, so 50% profitable. It's since September, it's made 51% net profit. This is on a $100,000 account, by the way. And let me actually make a point about that in 2 seconds, right? Total trades closed, 582. Profit factor is 1.4. It's not bad at all. The amount of money the strategy made for every unit of money of loss. Gross profits divided by the gross losses. So this is actually pretty good. Max drawdown 16,000. Remember, you're using a $100,000 account in this example. You go to properties, it says 100,000. Now let me make a point about this. I need you guys to pay attention to. TradingView is not built for Forex traders. It's built for stock equity traders and some crypto, right? So the calculations that you see in these backtesting results aren't reflective the same that you're going to understand it when it comes to trading on HeroFX or a Forex broker. So the best way to understand it a little bit more is that in even numbers, if I'm using a $10,000 account and my result is giving me $10,000, right? 9 times out of 10 with proper risk management, take a decimal off. That's how much you're actually making. We used to have a table that will, have those type of calculations built in. But the problem is with that is I have a specific broker, and it has to be broker specific because each broker has different lot calculations of what a 0.01 will get you per point, a standard will get you per point. I make this comparison a lot from Hugo's Way to Hero FX. A 0.01 on Hugo's Way gets you $100 per point because their contract sizes are 1 to 100 versus Hero FX is 1 to 10. So on a standard, a standard is actually what it's supposed to be is $100 per point because it's times 10, right? So it varies between brokers, and obviously because I have a community that's around the world, people using different brokers, coming from different mentors, So we had to make it very general. And I'm sitting here and I have to explain to you guys that, on a $100,000 account, this makes sense here, because in order for you to execute a trade, NASDAQ is trading at 11,847. So you need to have enough money to even trade this based on what TradingView is saying. But watch, if I put $1,000 in here, is going to say no data because you don't have enough money to trade it based on regulated broker contract sizes, stuff like that. So when you're trading like a funded account, right, and you have $100,000 or $200,000 account, that's when it will probably make a little bit more sense in terms of the results that you're getting here on TradingView. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, again, link in the description, comment down below. Let me answer a few questions. If you have any concerns, suggestions, whatever, you can comment down below or join the Discord, ask questions in there. We have members that are sending out screenshots and setting profiles of certain assets, which is really cool. And I thank you guys a lot for that. So yeah, let's just continue going over this right here. So you can see some things plot late. Don't worry about that. That's TradingView's issue with loading processes, etc., etc. So my settings for the default settings are my NASDAQ settings here. Okay, so we are at the end of the year, so you are getting a little choppy. And I think that Renko bricks in general actually work a lot better when it gets into the choppy market because it's about area of what you close in. So we have a break even at the TP1, the offset, trailing stop, right? So I think mostly what I need to go over with you guys, because all of this stuff is just a button away from you seeing the results. For example, the Renko MACD, right? If I use this as a confirmations, right? So the trend of the Renko MACD, and I change this, you're gonna see these results change. So you can see here the profit factor just went up to 120,000, 252 closed trades. I'm getting a lot of filters, right? 53.9% profitable. The profit factor is 3.5, which is that's a lot. And the max drawdown is only 12%, and of course it is over the course of 3 months, so this is actually really good. This is the equity curve, and this is all I did was press a button, right? All I did was click a button. I didn't even start playing with I didn't even start playing with the length, the slow, and the signal. Now this is definitely for the enthusiast. This is definitely for someone that wants to take trading seriously and wants to back test and learn. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I do calls. I will start doing calls even more if I see people actually wanting to learn how to backtest and all these other things. But yeah, you can see how even on the NASDAQ, same settings, they didn't change anything. All I did was click the trend confirmation, and then if I press zero cross, they can get better or even worse. I look for a minimum of at least 100 trades, by the way. So you can see it's still taking 250 trades, and it didn't really change. It didn't change too much in terms of the confirmations. So the show stuff isn't, but it's the confirmations and the exits. So if I put trend exits, you can see that it can possibly change as well based on the backtesting results. Not much, right? Same thing. So yeah, so we have our VWAP. This is something that I will actually play with as well. So for example, we got a VWAP confirmation, VWAP 1. So VWAP 1 is the daily. So maybe if I change it, let's see 1 week, the 1 week VWAP as my filter, what's going to happen to the strategy tester, right? So it actually went down because you're probably taking less trades, right? So those buys and sells that were presenting themselves, if the VWAP was selling all week, But on Tuesday and then on Thursday, we actually had profitable buy setups. It wasn't taken because you're below the weekly VWAP. So these are things that will change the back tester as well, right? Based on how many trades you're taking, the filters you have, right? So, you know, if you start changing up the settings, the same trades I'm taking, you may not be taking because you have different filters, you have a different tolerance, you have a different amount of times you want to trade, right? Maybe you're changing it from the 5 minute to the hour. So I think for right now, I think you guys get the settings for the most part, right? And obviously we know about the sessions filters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to focus specifically here on the Renko band, so we can go on like NASDAQ to like the 15 minute and the hourly, gold, so you guys can know actually how to maneuver, because this is the heart of the whole system, is knowing the proper calculations for each asset, even on the same asset but different time frames. So for example, all I'm going to do right now is change this from the 5 minute and I'm going to go to the 15 minute, right? And keep in mind, I'm using 20 points per brick. 20 points per brick may not translate the same way as it does on the higher time frames. Here, it actually did pretty well, right? Damn, I'm good. I'm really good. So, you know, let's keep changing it, right? Until we see some negative results. 30 minutes. I'm fantastic. I'm really the GOAT. Let's the 1 hour. Okay, it's still steady, right? We're still really good here. Let's fuck. 2 hours. But we're actually making less money, right? Compared to that 100,000, we're more profitable. But you can see how, you know, you're getting less money, more, you know, percent profitable. I don't even pay attention to this too much, but you actually have a larger max drawdown. So, let's make a better example out of this. Let's just go back to the 5 minute, and then I'm gonna switch it to US 30 on the 5 minute. And excuse me, I was doing some back testing on a new strategy. All right, I just want to take this time out and say you're welcome, because I'm really him. So you can see on US 30, even with 20 points, you know, it's doing decently well, but you can see there's a big drop here. So let's see what we can do to fix that, right? So instead of 20 points on US 30, let's go to the Renko band settings. If we're still going to go with traditional, and even this, guys, remember, there's a high low, then there's the close of the brick. So this means that even when it breaks a new high and stuff like that, there's too much data. So with the close of the brick, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Right, there we go. So let's go to changing it let's change it to 50 points per brick. So it has to move 50 points, which is pretty much nothing for US 30 or how volatile it moves. So you can see even the equity curve even got deeper, the max drawdown became even larger, so we don't want that, right? So let's change that back to like 10. This is a lot better, right? A lot better. And you're scalping on the 5 minute. Now let's see what that looks like when I go to that hour. Damn, I was really back testing, don't mind all that. I go to the hour, everything smooths out, but the max drawdown's even higher. But you're also playing with $100,000, and this is giving you $1 million back in profits since September. Okay, so you know when it comes to these, you can see here, it's just being smacked. Things are just being ridiculously smacked, and you play with the stop losses, you play with all these other things, and you're gonna get different results, right? Let's see. If I change this to the ATR, let's play with the ATR now, right? ATR, and then I'm actually using the ATR length. So now we're going to play with the ATR. We can see that it's giving different results. It's using volatility to create the bricks. So therefore it's always measuring and updating in real time. So when you're trading, especially when you're new, I would suggest go with the ATR until you've played around with Renko bricks enough where you, and that same symbol enough where you start to understand, okay, 20 points or 30 points is actually a good little sweet spot that you can make it your own and understand. But if you're new, obviously if you're new here, I would suggest just sticking to the ATR and just playing with the length when it comes to seeing your Renko bricks. You know, let's go with 10. So now it's measuring the last 10 candles, measuring the volatility, and giving you buy and sell signals based on, or creating new bricks based on that criteria, right? So and now all you gotta do is just click up. Right, you click up and you just see different results pop up. So there's another way where you can just kind of optimize the Renko band and stuff like that and go from there, right? And same thing that happens now without changing the bricks. Where's my take profits, right? So based on the stop loss that I'm using a pips and point stop loss. Maybe you want to use bricks. That means the past, like the multiplier, right? So the past 3 bricks are my stop loss. So it's pretty dynamic in terms of back testing, right? It's very, very dynamic in terms of back testing. You know, even if you use the ATR, you know, it's not really good settings compared to what I had with the pips and points set stop loss, but you're using the Renko brick, you know, ATR to calculate the Renko brick itself. But when it enters a trade, it's using a 50-point stop loss and then utilizing that as its take profit. So you can set a point, you know, these are all multiples of the stop loss itself. So you can play with that. So if I go to like Euro USD, for example, only trading the New York session, right? If you're trading a specific session, you want to trade the lower time frames. You can see it's actually pretty good. And I haven't really changed any settings at all. Just change the Renko bricks to the ATR and it'll automatically adjust. And at that point, you're just going to be playing with the VWAP. Maybe you want to play with the Renko MACD trend to filter and the stop loss and take profit points in which it would take trades. So I hope that was comprehensive enough. If you have any questions, I don't want to make the video too long. So if you have any questions, drop them down. In our Discord, we do have a section, a channel that says ALGO settings. And you know, when I find good settings or whatever, I would drop it in there in a folder and you guys can copy and paste those settings based on what you want to trade, and then try to make life as easy as I can for you guys. So in the next video that I drop, we'll be going over Pine Connector and then, you know, rinse and repeat from there. Much love.